G'day, it's Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, the New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption has received a written complaint alleging former New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro perjured himself when he gave evidence on the 25th of October under oath in regards to their investigation into former New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian. Now, the alleged perjury relates to Gladys's barrister asking John Barilaro about whether he'd had any other intimate relationships other than his marriage. Now, that's a huge problem for John Barilaro. Number one, in the last few days it's been revealed that John Barilaro is in a relationship with his former media advisor, Jennifer Lugsden. Number two, the written complaint to New South Wales ICAC. They received that written complaint on the 27th of October, 2 days after he gave evidence. And as you'll see, I'm in receipt of the response from ICAC on the 1st of December, where they outline some of that complaint. And thirdly, and probably the biggest problem, is the fact that Gladys Berejiklian's barrister, she questioned John Barilaro when he was in the witness stand on the 25th of October about the intimate relationships. She didn't ask him once or twice, it was 3 times. So she obviously knew about the intimate relationships that John Barilaro is alleged to have. I reported that on the 5th of October when I published a video and also an article the day after he resigned. There was rumours that he had multiple relationships. So he's in huge trouble. And the big issue here is whether Gladys Berejiklian's barrister, in written submissions, and her lawyers, are going to raise that issue in their written submissions, because I flagged it in an article I published the day that John Barilaro gave evidence, is that Gladys Berejiklian, part of her defence is going to be, look, well, firstly, the ICAC are investigating Gladys Berejiklian because she had a secret relationship with a former MP, Daryl Maguire, and she concealed that relationship. And part of that investigation is, did she have an obligation to declare it when she was making decisions that impacted his electorate? Now, part of her defence, as I flagged, is obviously going to be, look, the Deputy Premier was having multiple affairs, multiple relationships, and he never declared them, so I felt I never had to declare them. And I believe that's going to be part of her defence in her written submissions. So that could be very dangerous for a former New South Wales Deputy Premier as well. Now, firstly, let's have a look at the video I published on the 4th of October when I outlined all the reasons that John Barilaro has resigned, not the reasons he had given. So let's watch the video now. G'day, it's Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, I just want to do a quick video on the real reasons New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro has resigned. He's made a number of excuses, but the reality is he's resigned because he's under severe pressure for fraud, theft, abuse of power. He's had someone falsely charged by the police, which is a criminal offence in itself. He's got a dodgy defamation case, which he's going to have to ultimately withdraw. And he's looking like he'll have to give evidence at ICAC in a couple of weeks in relation to their investigation into the Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, or the resigned Premier. And there's also the alleged affairs. There's multiple alleged affairs, but before we get into that, let's give John the opportunity to say what he wants to say. So let's have a listen to his resignation speech at the media conference.
But it has taken a toll. It is tough on anybody in public life to continue in this role, especially under so much scrutiny, especially media scrutiny. And that's good. That's great for democracy. It's great for transparency. The very public defamation case that I have going at the moment, unbelievable, that I have to defend myself from vile and racist attacks in a social setting, in a social media setting by individuals. And a $1 trillion company like Google allow that sort of vile racial attack on any individual, regardless of public figure or not, to remain is something that I can't believe in 2021 still exists. As a young boy of migrant parents, I grew up, I understood what racism was. called many of those names. I didn't think in 2021 that'll continue, and that in itself, can I say, was very difficult this year. And to be able to defend myself and continue with that case, I prefer to do it privately, not in the public eye. And that's been a big reason for today's announcement, along with the opportunity that has now opened, that maybe now is the refresh. Like the defamation case itself drags in even some of my staff, who have been supporting me, and some of my political opponents have decided to even try and play in this space, and I don't wish on them what I'm enduring. So I make no quip about that, and I'm just careful what I do say, because it's a live defamation case.
Apart from yourself contributing to the cost of the Jordan Shanks case?
Can I just say, I'm here to talk about the people in New South Wales, and I'm exiting, and you ask a question about who's paying the bill. I can tell you I'm paying the bill. But even to ask that question today, I now realise why you've probably cemented why I'm leaving today. The defamation case definitely playing a big part of this. I don't know how many of you can endure what I've endured on online. I feel for young men and women, young boys and girls that get bullied on social media. I feel for them, because as someone that's been around the traps, a 49-year-old man that's played it rough and tough, I've got to tell you that it's made it very difficult for me, very, very difficult for me, when you get online and the abuse you cop, started by disgusting, vile, racist commentary.
Now, Jordan Shanks, who runs a YouTube channel, Friendly Geordies, has responded. So let's have a read of what he said in the statement that he's issued. Now, the statement that Jordan Shanks issued says, John Barilaro had the gall to use his final press conference to defame me as a racist, Jordan Shanks says. That in itself is a vile, offensive accusation about me that anyone following these issues can see straight through. He dodged, weaved, bristled when asked about the substantive and serious allegations our videos have exposed. This is a man who lists his achievements over the course of a decade in government as the destruction of Kosciuszko National Park. Well done, John. After a decade of proudly advancing his interests and blaming other people for his mistakes, what a fitting way to go out. He may be able to dodge questions at a press conference, but I doubt he'll be able to dodge them in a courtroom. Signed off, Bruz. Now let's have a look at some of the reasons why John Barilaro would have resigned. Number one, he made a false complaint to the police in relation to Christo Lanka stalking him. We've all seen the videos. There's no way in the world that Christo Lanka was stalking him, nor was John Barilaro intimidated by Christo Lanka. So that's making a false complaint to the police. And the police are going to have to withdraw that charge. It's currently still before the court, but there's no way that can go forward. It'll be highly embarrassing for the police if it was. And they'd have no option but to charge John Barilaro for making a false complaint to the police. Number two, the defamation case that's currently before the courts, where John Barilaro is suing Friendly Geordies. Jordan Shanks, the owner of that YouTube channel. Now, when they sent the concerns notice, they raised allegations of numerous affairs. Jordan Shanks has done a video where he's rung John Barilaro and asked him whether he's had affairs or not, and John Barilaro has hung up. Now, that's part of the reason they sent the concerns notice saying, look, we're going to sue you for this, because that's insinuated that he'd had affairs. But when it came to the actual lawsuit, when they instituted proceedings, that part dropped off. Now, my understanding is the reason it dropped off is because they were concerned some of the women that he allegedly had affairs with would give evidence. And that would have been highly embarrassing, one, and two, it would have lost him the lawsuit. And that's part of the reason why he's resigned. That rumour's been floating around for a number of weeks. I'll show you the exact part of the concerns notice that was sent to Friendly Geordies, where it says in relation to the alleged affairs and how he's been defamed. But when it comes to the lawsuit, that disappears, which seems to be admission that he has had multiple affairs, one allegedly with a high-profile former journalist. Now, number three, ICAC. In the recent weeks, John Barilaro has had a number of documents subpoenaed by ICAC in relation to their investigation into the former Premier, Gladys Berejiklian. And they'll be holding hearings from the 18th of October. I think it's set down for 10 days. And if they subpoena documents from John Barilaro, it's almost guaranteed they're going to be calling him as a witness. Now, which obviously is going to be highly embarrassing for John, and he might be exposed as being corrupt himself. You only have to Google his name. Google John Barilaro and $50,000 and you'll see a story totally unrelated in relation to allegations that there were concerns that John Barilaro was using $50,000 of public money to bribe someone. Then we've got pork barrelling. John Barilaro admits to pork barrelling. Pork barrelling is fraud and theft on a massive scale where they steal money that should have been distributed evenly across the state, and they use it to buy votes in certain electorates. They either trying to win or think they can win, and they want to shore up the votes in that electorate. So that means poorer electorates that should have got their fair share miss out. So it's fraud and theft on a massive scale. They say it's not illegal. Well, maybe it's not illegal, but it's fraud and theft on a massive scale to buy votes. And John Barilaro openly admits being involved in that. So there's just some of the reason why John Barilaro has resigned. He used his resignation speech in front of the journalists to attack Friendly Geordies. Now, Friendly Geordies isn't the sole reason he's resigned. There's a whole heap of reasons there, which I've nominated a number of them, which have nothing to do with Friendly Geordies. Although it must be said that obviously Friendly Geordies has played a part, and they should be congratulated for the journalism they've done in relation to allegations of corruption by John Barilaro. But John's got a lot bigger problems and a lot more problems than just Friendly Geordies. Now, I've written a couple of articles on John Barilaro, so make sure you visit my site, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and just do a search in the search box and you'll be able to find the articles. They're only recent anyhow. Now let's watch the video I published on the 25th of October, the day John Barilaro gave evidence, and the same day that Gladys Berejiklian's barrister started grilling him about intimate relationships that he had had, and he was ducking and weaving. So let's watch that video now. G'day, it's Shane Dowling here from kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now today at the New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption, it became very clear that the former New South Wales Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, intends on naming other politicians that have been having intimate personal relationships which they haven't declared. And we know that because the barrister acting for Gladys Berejiklian, Sophie Kellen, SC, started asking the former New South Wales Deputy Premier, John Barilaro, about his intimate personal relationships and whether he'd declared them all. She didn't ask him once, she didn't ask him twice, she hit him up 3 times. Why did she hit him up 3 times? Because he was ducking and weaving, she knew it. Now when she's hit him up a 3rd time asking him about intimate personal relationships, he's gone, that's a difficult question. Well no, it's not a difficult question at all, it's a very simple question. Now the reason Sophie Kellen has asked him 3 times, she was trying to lock him in. And he has been locked into his answers now. And on Thursday and Friday, Gladys Berejiklian will be hopping in the witness stand. I can tell you now, at the very least, her barrister is going to ask her whether she's aware of other personal, intimate relationships that at least John Barilaro has had, and quite possibly one has to suspect she might ask a very broad question. Do you know any other intimate personal relationship that other MPs have had, or other senators? They've got an upper house there in New South Wales. So it looks like that Gladys Berejiklian is going to nuke the whole thing and just blow it wide open. There's 2 benefits for Gladys Berejiklian doing that. Number one, it undermines the whole credibility of all the witnesses against her. Because here they are saying, yes, we'd do something different if we had known about the personal relationship with Gladys Berejiklian and a former boyfriend, Narelle Maguire. But it's common knowledge that at least John Barilaro has been having multiple affairs over the years. And so she's going to at least raise that, and a barrister has flagged it. She's hit John Barilaro up 3 times. She didn't do that by mistake. That's not some off-the-cuff question. She's drilling down, locking him into the question, making sure he could have answered it if he wanted to, but he hasn't, which is just as good. Either way, she wins. Because she hasn't answered it, I think they'll be supplying evidence, or at least evidence from Gladys Berejiklian from the witness stand on Thursday and Friday when she's in the witness stand. So it undermines them and their credibility. So for any potential criminal proceedings later down the track, they can say, oh yes, we would have done something different if we had known about the relationship. Well, you knew about John Barilaro's secret relationships, you knew about these secret relationships with these other MPs, and you took no action. So it's going to undermine the credibility of anyone and everyone who's lined up at ICAC and any other future court proceedings against her. It also does another thing in that she's saying she withheld it, withheld the knowledge of that relationship she was having with Daryl Maguire. She's going to sit back and say, well, others were doing it too. So it doesn't make, so in the public's eyes, she doesn't look quite as bad. But anyhow, let's have a listen to that tape first from ICAC.
Conflict of interest that I believe is of concern was that Ms. Berejiklian and Mr. Maguire were in a relationship.
Mr. Barilaro, over your time in Parliament, did you disclose to the Premier all intimate personal relationships that you had?
I would have, yes.
When you say you would have, did you do so?
Well, I suppose on our pecuniary interest forms, we've got to disclose assets or income or connections to trusts that include family members like my wife or my kids or other family members. Those disclosures are done in accordance to the ministerial code.
What about any other intimate personal relationships, Mr. Barilaro?
I don't think that is a normal. That's a hard question because my relationship with my family. So that's a hard one to disclose.
Yeah, you just heard the tape where Sophie Callan has hit John Barilaro up 3 times. First she asked him, did you fail to declare intimate personal relationships? And he ducked and weaved and thought he got away with it and said, I would have. And she's gone, no, not would you have, did you? And he's ducked and weaved again. Then she's hit him up with a 3rd time. Did you declare intimate personal relationships, any other intimate personal relationships? And he stumbled. And he stumbled because he knew he was in a lot of trouble. He knew exactly what she was referring to. And he ultimately says that's a difficult question to answer, which it wasn't difficult at all. Now, wait for Thursday and Friday for Gladys to be in there. I can tell you now, the other John Barilaro at the very least, and almost guaranteed other MPs and senators in the New South Wales Upper House will all be sweating from now to when Gladys hops in the witness stand, wondering if she's going to name them as having intimate relationships that they haven't declared. Now the key word there when Sophie Callan was cross-examining John Barilaro is intimate. You know, it's not a close personal relationship. You can have a close personal relationship with friends and whoever. Intimate was a key word. And John knew exactly what she was talking about, the barrister, when she was asking the questions, but he was ducking and weaving. Let's have a quick look at the letter that ICAC sent to the person who made the complaint 2 days after John Barilaro gave evidence. Now, I'm going to publish an article on this on the 15th of December 2021. So you'll be able to have a better look at the letter there. So make sure you visit my website, kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. And when you visit the site, make sure you sign up for the free email notification. So every time I publish a new article, you get an email letting you know there's a new article there to be read, which is normally about twice a week. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is free. And please share the video on the YouTube channel and also the article. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.